Welcome back to the second video of this series where we are learning to build a countdown timer. In the first video, we started with the input form wherein we created the form, and now in this video, we are going to actually make the timer work. We're going to see how we can start the timer, pause it, and reset it back to its original state. And then we're also going to style the entire application with some Tailwind classes. So let's get started. We're going to start by formatting the input seconds that we're receiving from the user. We would have another function called as format timer, which already has the timer. It's just going to return the values, like if it's we take the timer and we divide it by 60 to get minutes, and whatever is left we want it as seconds, so minutes and seconds, that's going to be returned. So instead of showing timer here, what if we show format timer instead? Let's try it out. I set 120 seconds and click on the set button. Again the same error. What if we call it, so 120 set, and we got 2 minutes 0 seconds, and we can do the same for hours too. So let hours 60 into 60 is 3600, so we divide the timer by 3600 to get the hours and minutes in seconds, and then we can display the hours same way. And yeah, it displays now, and we will all style it and we will all start the timer too. So let's style it. First of all, maybe let's just remove these three styling, or maybe these two stylings with an MX auto from this to maybe the form itself here. Yup, still rendering correctly. Let's just confirm. Let's enter 180, which is 3 minutes. Yup. Let's give it all a bit of a styling. So, or maybe let's continue with the functionality first. I want a button to start the countdown, and then to pause it, and then to reset it. So let's start with a start timer. So here let's have this as one parent so that we style it separately, and then we'll have another parent here with 3 buttons. The first would be start, then there would be 1, 2, the start button starts it, and when it is running, we need 2 buttons. The one would be for pause, and then one would be to reset. We need these 3 buttons here. Got it. And this is looking very ugly for now, so let's give it some class, a class of flex, for it to be in a row, and then item center, so that it is all aligned. And now we realize that giving the parent of this the same half width that we gave to the form with MX auto. Yes, and then we want justify, because it's all to one side, we want the space to be justified evenly. Justify evenly, I hope that's what it is called. Okay, don't mind it. We can reduce this to, let's say, 1/3, and we can say that we want to give justify between it's justified now, and then some difference, so space x y, which means top and bottom 4. Yup, it reflects 5, increases it. So these are our 3 buttons that we will style later. And then when we want, when the start button is clicked, for it to start reducing the timer each second. So on click, start timer, and let's write the function for that. So constant start timer. I always like to write my functions as constant because they are never going to change. It's the writing practice that I like. And then we will have an interval. I want the interval to be a state, because I want other functions to modify it as well. So we will call it interval, and in set interval is by default JavaScript function. We won't use that. We will call it change interval instead. And initial state of interval is null because there's no interval in the start. And then when the user clicks on the start button, we will have let interval. This gets confusing. We'll call it data. Set interval is JavaScript's function which calls the functions after each interval. So this is the syntax, and whatever I write inside this function would be triggered after every duration that I mention here. Here I am mentioning it as 1 second, which means that after each second the content inside this function would be triggered. So I want after each interval set timer, but the value should be reduced by 1. Whatever the value of timer is should be reduced by 1 automatically. So every 1 second this would get called and would reduce the timer by 1 second. That's interval data, and I want to set it in change interval data, which means that whatever interval function we just created, I am saving it in the interval state object. Let us try. I'm removing this log for now and closing this distraction. We enter 120 seconds, we set the time, and then I click on start, and the interval has started. The timer is already working, and I think let's work on the rest of the functionality. Now we want to pause the timer, so on click pause timer, and then we write a function for it, const pause timer. So I think if we do clear interval and pass the interval to it should clear it out, but then when I start it should start from the exact same position, because there's nothing that's resetting it. So if I type 120 seconds and then I start the timer, it started the timer. I'll wait for a few seconds, and then if I click on pause, it paused the timer because it's now stopped. And then if I click on start again, it started from the exact same place where it stopped, and then stop again. And then on reset, I simply wanted to set the timer back as 0. So I go to the function here, on click reset timer, and then I go write a function here, set timer as 0, and also clear the interval because I don't want the interval to keep on running, and we can suggest that too. So start it and the timer keeps on rolling, and then let's say I pause it, and now it's not running anymore because it's paused. And now if I start it again, it's working again. Pause and then reset. Okay, reset didn't work. Let's see why. Is it not being called the right way? On click reset timer. Okay, I think my click had a small c, which, so if I start again, 41, 40, 39, pause, and if I reset now, it got reset. So I think our timer functionality is working. Let's get to styling it. This is looking very boring. We want it to look really good. So I want a background to it, a good background for my app. Maybe let's say something like a very dark purple color. Let's inspect element again. So this is my body. Why is the root so small? I am thinking instead of MT52, I do PT52. And then I give it a width of the entire screen and a height of the entire screen, so that now, yeah, it's taking the entire screen as its domain. And then let's give it a background color. What I prefer to do, my personal way of working, is that I first try to style it here to see how the look and feel would be before I get to the code of it. Selecting a random color, Alice blue, and then clicking on the swatch, which then gives me this. I want purple and a dark purple shade, somewhat even darker. Yeah, I think something like this is what I want, and then I want some light purple text on top of it. Let's finalize for, let's say, BG purple 900. That's a Tailwind class. Purple 900 is not dark enough, it seems. Let's see what other color. I think let's play with violet 950 and refresh. Violet 950 seems like a good color. What other colors can we play with? Indigo 950. Let's try it out. Yup, it's very dark. Okay, going back to violet, let's play with violet first. And I want the text on top to be a lighter shade of violet now. I want the text to either be violet 300 or violet 400. So I would say text violet 300. The text has changed. Or maybe a contrast with indigo and violet. And what if I increase this to 500? Dark, not giving the right essence. Let's do purple 950 and purple 300. Yeah, I think this looks good. And this is our form. Let's increase the label to text LG. Yep. And then coming to our button should have an even darker color, even darker than this purple. So let's try or maybe let's try a shade from purple 500 or a lighter shade, purple 100, 200, 200, and the text purple 100. Very light on top of each other, I must say. we need some contrast, so maybe let's make it white. And let's make it 300. Or instead let's use icons instead. So there's this icons library that we can work with, Lucide icons it's called. What we basically want to do is we want to save so these are the icons that we can choose from. Let's take this power icon for setting. I like this one. So to get this, let's go to guide installation and we'll use npm install Lucide React. Open up a new tab in the terminal, go to our folder and then run the command npm install Lucide React, which installs the package, and then I can just directly get started using it. So we need to import it first. Import power from Lucide React, and wherever the set button is, here it is, we want power to be visible too. It got set. Yep, we can make it thicker. So maybe let's get rid of it and class stroke 2. Let's see what text white looks like. It does look good with purple. And then our text could be darker purple. And so can our buttons be. This is the form where we have the button, so its background could be 902. I think this looks better than what it was before. And then our input would also be purple. Yeah, I think it looks good. And when I enter, I want the input text color to also be text. What was it? Purple 900. And so when I enter 120, yep. And let's make it font semi-bold. Yes. And when we start, now it's time to style these. I styled my button this way. Let's have more icons. So to start, we would have a play icon, and to pause, there's a pause icon, and to reset, let's see what icon can we use. I think rotate CCP should do. So when we go here, all we have to do is replace the text with the icons that we just selected. It's written in this format everywhere. And now the text that's here, this is very important. So it should be very big in size, text 4XL, and bold. Text semi-bold is the class. If you're not aware of Tailwind CSS, you can use these classes right from the Tailwind documentation. So yeah, this is what we want it to look like. And then all buttons should have a background. Is this what it looked like? Yup. And P2. Rounded MD. Yep. And this is the class that we copy everywhere else. Buttons are visible. I want more space between them, or I'd rather want them below, not here. So what's the height of it all? Let's just check that. We do have a width, but we don't really have a height here. And so if we say that if we wanted to have 3/4 the height of the screen, and we also want to flex and separate it, flex call. The height is not making much difference. I remove the PT52 from here and I reset it. It goes to the top, and then I maybe add flex to it, flex call, and I say justify center, so it gets to the center of the screen. And let me check the other screen too. Yeah, it's at the center. And then I want the other screen, which is the one here, to have full height of the parent. but also flex call, because it's two elements, one below the other. Maybe edge full can go, and I want to tell it for justify between, which is not working. Let's try with the height again. 3 by 4. Yep, it worked this time. And if I make it half, even better. And then I want a ring to be around this, so I want it to have a border, and the border color might be purple 300, 400 maybe, and the border should be thick 4. Yes, and I want it to be rounded, probably after this, rounded, full. I want to give it a clock effect, is what I'm trying to do here. I want to make it a circle, so maybe if I add some padding to top and bottom of it, or maybe give it a width half and height half. Yep, something like that. And for the text to be in the center. Not working. Let's give this proper values. Let's say 5 rem width, height 5 rem, very less. If I make it 25 instead, good enough. But there's something that's still making it look, yep, I think this is good. And now I want the text to be in the center of it. So to do that again, if I make it flex and justify center and items center, yeah, it got center aligned. Maybe I can now remove this height. For some reason I need to get it on top back again like it was, and what's stopping it from being that? What if I give it MX auto? Yep, it got there. And it says justify between. What if this is not justify between? Justify between. I think I should have let the height stay, getting the height back to 3 by 4. Yep. And let's also try 1 by 2. good enough but less than what we need, so 3/4 to get the timer clock effect and to get the buttons. Let's see if we can increase the text height a bit more. Yeah, we can. This looks even better. And so if I enter, let's say 3600 and I start, it shows 1 hour 60 minutes. 1 hour 60 minutes, which is wrong, because that should ideally have been 1 hour. So I think there's some mistake with the calculation here. So to correct the minutes, we would first find out whatever remained from the hours, and then we would divide it by 60 to get the minutes. So let's try it again. I enter 3600, play, and it says 1 hour, and then I play and the timer starts as I wanted, and if I clear it, it goes away. If I enter 290 seconds, it starts. That was all for this video. I hope you enjoyed making this timer with us. Let us know what next tutorial would you like to see from us, and we'll accordingly try to make the same for you. Please mention it in the comments, and thank you all. Bye bye.